What is the stigma in addressing mental health?
The stigma in addressing mental health is that we are historically, as men, and this is not just restricted to black men, but men as a whole, that we were raised that we need to be strong, we need to be stoic, we need to carry the weight emotionally and mentally and physically for our family, and never show weakness. Don't cry, don't show any overt emotion unless you're at a particular event or a turning point in your life, i.e. the birth of your child, death of a family member, the loss of a loved one, or celebrations. Other than that, keep it minimal, or we're somehow seen as weak or less than normal because reinforced beliefs.
Men were never supposed to cry. Men were never supposed to show emotion. Men were never supposed to cry or show emotion because to do so was to demonstrate to the rest of the world, which, by the way, was always out to get you, that you were weak somehow.
Now, as black men, we have a little bit more on that because we can't show weakness in front of others.
Ignore how you feel, even when it hurts.
Outside of our race, or we were told that if you show any weakness, they will pounce on you. That has been subtly reinforced over the years, but it's getting better, especially with the newer generation as they understand that there's things like mental health days and such. Now, granted, some people take it to an extreme, but the fact that if you are not feeling well, you need to say something. You need to find help. If the help that you're finding is not right for you, or you don't feel comfortable in discussing certain things with people, find a provider that works for you. I mean, no one is forced to stay with any one provider or be beholden to inadequate care, both mental and medical. So, and because so many new people are getting out there, it would be advised to not try to self-diagnose, but at least try to seek professional advice and help if needed. Some people try to couch that in meditation, the environment of herbs or other sedatives, or just take a day off, go walk on the beach, fish, ride a bike, play some video games, read a book. But whatever works for you to get your mind back to what you would consider normal, and that is subjective depending on the person, do so. But just don't do it at the detriment of friends, family, and yourself. And especially don't do it in the event of messing with your career. Because as we've seen quite often, entirely too many people get frustrated and lash out or feel that they've achieved a plateau where they can just act a fool, and there's no one either to tell them no. In that case, Kanye and Jonathan Banks, or that whatever misinformation or agenda that other people are trying to use to further their goals or drag down that particular individual, and then people start to listen because, oh, well, they're all saying I must be crazy, so I must be crazy, or they're all saying the world is flat, it must be flat. Find out for yourself, but don't don't regress into an echo chamber. Find out from independent sources. Find out either through Facebook. Well, sorry, not Facebook. Through vetted scientific sources, but don't limit those to religious sources or familial sources, because as we all know, there's always somebody who may not have our best interests at heart, either family-wise or pulpit-wise.
Coming soon in Citizens of Reality YouTube channel, we are discussing the topic of Pimps in the Pulpit by contributor Brother Kwamina.
Because everybody has an agenda, and that's fair. But sometimes that agenda can be detrimental as a whole to society and to yourself. But don't be afraid to seek help or to ask for help, because you don't want to be in a situation where that can negatively affect your livelihood, your life, or your relationships.
Well, let's look at that like this. We know that they closed down a lot of the mental hospitals.
In the 19th century, asylums were supposed to provide a tranquil environment to treat the patients. University of Michigan professor Laura Hirschbein explains.
In the 19th century, the thought was that these people were disordered in their minds, and so that the treatment would be to put them in a place where they could learn how to think clearly and be in comfortable surroundings. So the state psychiatric hospital system that started in Michigan and other states, the original intent was as an asylum. So the original state hospitals were called state asylums.
By the 20th century, along with the rest of the nation, Michigan started moving away from the hospital system to a community mental health approach.
That the institutions started to get more and more crowded. And some of that was because people didn't seem to be leaving after a few years. And with industrialization and people moving into cities and big extended families starting to fall apart, there were no places for people to go and no support systems, no community supports. So the hospitals started getting more and more crowded.
The state began to shut them down.
People were very unhappy with state hospitals, and psychiatrists were also unhappy with state hospitals. They were not satisfied that patients were getting good care. In
1965, there were 41 state-operated psychiatric hospitals and centers housing about 29,000 people, according to the state health department. By 2012, there were only 5 state-operated centers with 802 residents.
We do have some people that really do need the mental help in order to get them on track. But my true belief is they're saying or prescribing you medications for things that they say are mental, and it's not necessarily the case. So it takes nothing for them to throw you on any of the drugs, and that will actually make you worse than you were when you first started out. So we know back in the day, they didn't talk nothing about Ritalin. There was no such thing as some Ritalin. So they want to throw all of us in that same category. Then they want to give us medication, but at the same token, they're closing all of the mental health institutions.
When you go through a program, when you're trying to recover like addicts and those type things, so on and so forth, the first step is admitting that you have a problem. You can't get recovery unless you start from that premise.
What is it? All right, well, yeah, I get that, because some people can't admit they have a problem, and quite honestly, when it comes down to mental health, nobody want to be the crazy guy in the group. We all know we got one. We always got to be. You never want to be you. Like, I've been a man for a while, and one of our jobs is to protect and provide. I don't need to look out for you. So that's kind of how it works with the crazy one. No one can admit they're the crazy one. And quite honestly, I always thought that was backwards, because one of the strongest things you can do as a man is just straight up ask for help. You can humble yourself to get the things you need to make you better. I don't understand why there is a stigma, but that is the stigma because that's just what it is. Everybody want to look like they got it all together, but sometimes you don't. Like if you need $5, you can ask me for it, so why can't you ask me if you need help?
Definitely, when you're talking about mental health and the stigma that comes along with it, I believe that's a multifaceted thing. Definitely, in the Black community, we face so many physical struggles that our mental health, our spirit, hasn't been as big of a priority as it should be. Definitely, I think now with this current generation that we're not facing as many of those physical struggles. We can now start to have that conversation on mental health and how to prioritize that. Definitely, as far as removing that stigma, I think we're moving in the proper direction, but definitely we still have a long way to go.